morning. It's 4:30 or maybe 4:31, but ready to paint today. I've got red cheeks. We've been chasing Puppy this afternoon. She's decided she can roam all over the acre. Papa actually did most of the chasing, but she's back in now. Anyway, so a little bit red cheeked right now, but ready to get started with you to paint this little flower today. Hope you're as excited as I am. We'll see how this goes, but I've been talking to several today, and they're excited to paint or just to watch paint. I'm going to go ahead and take my glasses off because I can see that they're glaring, and I know that's annoying to you. But as you hop on here, tell me where you're from, and if I've met you before. Probably there's no telling where we've met. I do a lot of things in this community. I've done a lot of TV commercials when we were having the craft show, and so happy to see you. And hi Tori, and I see Carla Sparks on there. Great. Carla's got one of the flowers that she's going to paint with us today. So let's go ahead and get started so that my phone doesn't go dead, and my husband's got a meeting here in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started, so hopefully we can get this finished during this first session. So the first thing that we're going to do is base coat. I usually base coat if I'm going to be using yellow or a color that's kind of transparent. I will base coat it in white so that it will kind of make the color pop a little bit and doesn't show the wood grain so much. So when I base coat, I try to use a really wide brush. As wide as I can, depending on what piece that I'm painting. So the smaller you use, the longer it's going to take you to base coat it. So the first thing we're going to start with on this one is some white. And I use all different kinds of paints. This one is Anita's acrylic, and it's just the plain white. There's, you would think white is white, but it's not. There's snow white, there's off-white, there's antique white. So, but this is just plain white. So, I use a paper plate just because that's how I started out painting when I learned how. Some people use egg cartons. Some people use a piece of tin foil. I even found some of these at Walmart. Somebody had told us about them. And hi, Shelly. Welcome aboard. Hope we can get something painted today. Hi, Mom. Your mom's always the biggest supporter. So hi, Mom. I'm glad you're watching. But you can also use this, and what's good about this is you can reuse it and reuse it. You can wash it out. If you're in the middle of a project and you've got to stop for a little while to go do something, you could just cover it in a piece of foil, and when you come back, your paint's just as wet and ready for you to go as it was when you first poured it in there. So that's something also good. And I know right now, well, if you can get in Walmart, they've got them for 97 cents. So it makes great door prizes if you have paint parties as well. So just to introduce myself, because I know we've got a lot of people that are on here for the first time, which is awesome. But my name is Pam Savage, and I live in Sherman, Texas, just about an hour, a little more than an hour north of Dallas. The name of my business is Young at Heart Creations. So you can go to my business page there, and it is new. It's still in progress, still working on my website. But I hope to get that a little more up and coming in the future. But let's get started on this flower. Hi, Ashley. Glad to see you. I know Ashley goes to church with me, and I have had her children in my Bible class, and I'm missing them so much right now. But hope that you get to watch this. And her little girl is just an amazing little artist. She's just incredible. So the first thing you want to do when it doesn't matter what you're painting on. If you're painting on wood, metal, canvas, plastic, anything, you always want to clean your piece first for sawdust or just dust particles. So I've already cleaned these. I cleaned them before we got started. Just wipe them off with a damp cloth, not real wet if it's wood, because you don't want the wood to swell. But that's the way I do on both sides. If you've got the little jagged edges like this is, and it's so hard to get a sander down in there, if you will take a fingernail file, an emery board, those work great down in little spots just to kind of get those edges like you need them. This side's got, it's double-sided. There's one side that's got a few little nicks on it that I really don't care for. So look for the best side, especially if you're going to be selling something. Look for the best side to start out with. And on this one, it is, this side that's smooth. And so let's go ahead and get started. When I get started with my brushes, I always get them a little bit damp. That just kind of helps the water. With the water, it just kind of helps the paint spread a little better. I get it wet, but then you want to damp it off. I've always got me a wet rag. You can tell this one's been used. I just get a wet rag and kind of squeeze it out a little bit. And I have a wet wipe hidden under it to keep it moist, because wet wipes are one of your best friends when you're painting. If you make a mistake, a baby's wet wipe will take it off really easily. And just another tip before we get started, if you get paint on your clothes, like I usually do, rubbing alcohol will typically take it out, so you can try that. But if you get it immediately, the baby wipe will work just as great. So I got my brush wet, and I just kind of dab it off on the rag a little bit, because I don't want water dripping in it, but I may have to moisten it just a little bit here and there as we go. So I'm going to get started on that. Put it in that water, dab it off. I've got a little bit of paint on my plate, and I'm just going to load both sides. So this is called base coating. This brush that I'm using is a large flat tip brush. I got them, they come two to a package at Walmart if you can get them, because they go pretty fast. I think they were $4.97 a package, and it's been one of my best brushes for base coating, and it covers really well. So I'm just going to start putting it on. And you don't have to have a thick coat. It's not going to take much. You'll have to reload a little bit, but just make sure you get it covered really well. Go all the way out to those edges, and then you don't have to put the white on the edges. You can if you want to. Now see how my paint's dragging just a little bit, so I'm going to add just a little bit of water and go back in it. And I'm going out away from me on the edges. If I come in on the edges, then I'm going to have a big drip there on the edge, so we don't want that. Hi Marla, hi Sherry. Glad y'all got to come on aboard. We've just started base coating our piece white. If you don't have a wooden flower right now, if you want to go grab a poster board or a paper sack or even a canvas, you can draw a quick flower. Just take a cup like this, draw your center, and just draw you out some little petals right quick while I'm base coating. That'll give you time to do that, and you can paint along with us if you want to. So let's get started on that, get that going. We had a wonderful sermon from our preacher, Toby Sechting, this morning on giving, and just was nice to get to kind of see comments from everybody. We're missing everybody at church, so it was nice to kind of catch up with some of them. He's live streaming. We weren't at the building. He's live streaming right now, but he put a lot of effort into that lesson. It was good. I've been painting, for a lot of y'all that are just getting on, for a little over 30 years, but still learn something every day when I watch painting and watch others paint. Now you see on this one, I don't know if you can see it on there, but on the edges, it's been sanded really well, so it's a little bit different color on the edges. But when we cover that with the yellow, it'll be fine. So I'm going to turn my edges so that I can paint the other side here, the other edge. And I will warn you, I'm a messy painter, and I'm a slow painter compared to a lot of them. So I'm going to try to keep it going. Let me know if you're a painter, if you enjoy it, if you've ever painted, or if you've never painted and this is the first time you've really watched a video of anybody painting. I'd like to know, kind of like to know what my audience is, and if you plan on painting. Now see how I got a little bit of a drip right there? I'm just going to wipe it out. You don't want it caked up on it, so you just want to smooth that edge out just a little bit, and we're going to go over it with the yellow, so it's just fine. Okay, so we've got the first coat on that, and for time's sake, I'm going to dry it here with a hair dryer just to get that first coat on there. If you start putting that yellow on while this is still wet, then you're going to end up mixing the yellow in with the white. So while I'm drying it, I'm going to get my brush washed out real well. I take really good care of my brushes. Some of the brushes I've been using for probably 15 years. I wash them out real good after I get through, and I reshape them, and they've lasted me a long time. My favorite brushes, I think, are the Low Cornell and the plaid brushes. Those are really good. So bear with me a minute while I dry this. This is just a regular hair dryer that I'm using, and it doesn't take long. Just put it on high heat. You don't want to get it too close to your piece. Keeps it from mixing in with your other one, and it helps the next coat to flow a little smoother. Okay, I think that'll do it there. And see, I've already got it all over me. Always, it never fails. But I did want to show you before we get started with the color while that's still drying just a little bit. You don't have to do it the same colors I'm doing. This flower, if you go to my business page, you can see that I've got the picture that's up with one of the paint parties we did, and we did these flowers in the bigger ones here. This is the 20-inch, but I always, at my paint parties, I always take a sample board for them. I hope you can see this, but look at all the different ways that you could do the centers and the petals and all the different colors. I mean, there's just no end to what you can do. So, you know, pick what's best for you, what's going to work in your home, or maybe you have a gift that you're doing. Just experiment with it. It's just paint. You can always paint over it. So, you know, don't be scared to get started on it and go, oh, if I mess up, you know, you can just paint over it. If it's a really bad goof up, you can just sand it off and start over. Okay, so the next color, but before I do that, I like to, my very first base coat color, when I'm doing wood, I always like to kind of smooth it out, because that very first coat on there is going to make the wood swell a little bit, and it feels a little rough. So you can either use a piece of wax paper and just wad it up, or you can use off of a paper sack. This is just a little square cut off of a paper sack. And I usually go with the grain, and I just start rubbing it. And you'll be able to tell the difference. It doesn't take a lot. Turn it around, go with the grain on the edges there. And if you just tuned in, this is not sandpaper. This is just a piece of paper sack that you're going to rub it down. And by the time we finish this flower, this is just a simple little flower. You're going to appreciate crafters a lot more if you've never gone to a craft show or anything, or never thought about, you know, you look at something, you go, wow, that's a little expensive. I could get it at Hobby Lobby cheaper than that. Well, Hobby Lobby puts them through a lot of machines, and I buy a lot from Hobby Lobby, but you'll see how much work goes into just something this small. So it's been cut out, it's been sanded, it's been cleaned, it's been base coated, and now we're just smoothing it out with a piece of paper sack. Hi, Mary Stonebarger. Glad you're with us and watching. Okay, so we've got the base coat of white on there, got it smoothed out, and that just feels so much different. So I'm going to use the same brush, because I'm going to base coat the whole thing again. Well, I take that back. We're not base coating the whole thing. This time we're going to just do the petals. So to do the center of the flower, just find something that pretty much fits what piece you're working on, what size it is. This is just a solo cup. So you could use a coffee cup. I've got a real big piece that I did not too long ago. I used one of my dinner plates because I needed a big circle. I use anything that I have in my house. If it's what I need at the time, then, you know, I just use it. So, and I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to find what I think is the center. And I'm just going to take a pencil and just lightly, just enough so that I can see it. I'm going to go around the cup. And there's my center. And that pencil mark's not going to matter because we're going to cover it in a dark color, so you're not going to be able to see it. So that's all that was just tracing it with around that solo cup, and that just happened to be just about the right size on the other one. So now we're going to use it's Deco Americana, and it's called Cadmium Yellow. Cadmium Yellow. It's a bright yellow. Kind of like a sunflower yellow, I guess you would call it. So I'm going to use the same plate. And I'm just going to pour. I try not to pour more than what I need because you can always add more paint. It's hard to get it back in the bottles, and you don't want to waste your paint, especially if you do paint parties. When you're buying, you know, 50, 60, 70 bottles of paint, it can run into some money. So you can always add another layer, another scoop out there. So let's get this, and we're going to go, I'm going to start going around my edge first. And this is a size 12 flat brush. The flat brush is flat across the top. Now this is also a flat brush, but look at the difference in the sizes. So they're both flat, but they both serve different purposes. This one is really good for the big base coating. This one's really good with a little bit smaller area. So I got it wet, if you noticed, and then I dabbed it off on my wet rag a little bit. And then I'm going to just go right around the edges. I'm going to come down just a little bit with the camera. There we go. So I'm going to come around just a little bit with around that circle, and I'm holding it straight up and down. And that's just going to kind of give me a base with my yellow, and then I can come out this way to finish. So we're going to go all the way around and smooth that ridge out. If you get a big clump of paint, if it makes a ridge for you, just kind of smooth it out as you go, because we're going to paint all of this yellow. Come back around. All the way around. I'm just going to hold it down there. All the way around. We got a little bit of sunshine here today. Not much, not for long, but it was sure nice when we did get it. Okay, and again, this is the cadmium, I guess is how you pronounce it, Deco Art paint. I got it at Hobby Lobby. I don't think Walmart carries this brand, but it's one of my favorites. It just goes on smoothly and covers well. And again, you don't have to be exact with this circle because we're going to cover it with dark inside. Okay, so I got kind of a perimeter there for me. Just kind of go around and smooth it out. I'm going to wash that out real good. You don't ever want to lay your brushes down with paint in them because acrylic paint dries really fast. And if it dries in your brush, it's really hard to get out. I mean, there are things you can do to try to get it back like it needs to be, but it's better if you just kind of clean it out in between. Okay, so I'm still in that bright yellow. Now we're going to go. It's easy because we've got our circle area covered. Now we're just going to start base coating. And remember, you're going to go out away from the petal. If you bring it in, you're going to get drips on that edge. And you may still, even doing it this way. Now I'm coming right back down where I started with the circle and going out. Just outward motion. And we'll come back and do the edges here in just a minute. So I'm going out. At this point, need some more paint. It looks like a sunshine. My little grandson Logan was over here the other night, and he said, "Grammy, what are you painting?" He's just infatuated with the painting right now. And I said, "Well, I'm painting a flower." He said, "No, that's a sun." I said, "Well, no, it's going to be a flower." He said, "No, that is a sun. The sun can't be a flower, and the flower can't be a sun." So when I finished, he was a little amazed, but I had to make him one that looked like a sun, with a sun face on it. Is everybody doing okay, staying in and getting cabin fever? Are you finding creative things to do? One of my sons has a little office building out behind his house that they built. He hasn't moved into it as an office yet. Still empty, but it has electricity and everything. So they set up a little tent and slept in it. Had a little camp out in it last night, and they had so much fun. My daughter had to drive to Dallas today, and she said on her way she looked over in a yard, saw the sweetest thing she said she'd ever seen in her life. Said she saw a deer playing with a Great Dane, and said they were having so much fun. She said it was just a wild little deer, and they were just playing and romping in the yard together. If only people could get along that well, huh? Okay, so I'm just going around with this yellow. We're just base coating with the yellow. Base coat is always the first coat of whatever color you're putting on. And I'm smoothing it out as I go. Now, I'm going to have to do the edges on it. And it's wet. It's still sticky and wet, so it's going to get on my fingers if I try to hold on to it. I'm going to lay my brush down for just a minute, and I'm going to dry it with the hair dryer so that I can go ahead and hold it while I do the edges. So this is what we've got so far. You should just have that center still white, and then I've gone around with the yellow. Now, if you're doing blue, or whatever color you're doing your petals, you know, that's fine. You should have your petals base coated, and then your center still white, but we're going to do a lot with that here in just a minute. So let me go ahead and get it dry. Just on the edges. I'm going to get just a little bit of paint on my brush, and then I'm just going to come back and just kind of dab. Just going to dab on those insides there. You don't need a lot, but you'll need to smooth the top because it's going to get a little bit on the top. So I'm just putting a little bit on those edges, just enough to cover them up. Now, if you have wood that's laser cut, it's going to have a black edge on it. And I like that black edge on it. I think it looks really nice, so I don't typically paint those. I might have to touch it up a little bit with some black, but I don't typically paint those. I just leave them black. So let's go around this, and I'm going to go around it quickly, just for sake of time. And this one has a lot of edges, but as you can see, I've already got, a quarter of it done. So it doesn't take much. And I'm just dabbing it on there, and then smoothing it out as I go, because I don't like all those ridges on it. So a little bit more paint. Back and forth here. I was trying to find a good time to do this live, and there's so many that are doing it now that it's hard to find a good time that when somebody's not doing their live, doing things, which is fantastic. I mean, I'm just so glad that so many are doing it and enjoying it. I mean, it's really a trend right now. The paint parties right now, everybody's at home and stuck at home, and I know a lot of the girls are doing paint kits. They're mailing out paint kits to kids and even adults. They're sending out things and doing sending them paint kits so they can do the whole thing. Now, I didn't get my brush real good and clean, so that had a little bit of white that was showing up on it. So I mixed it in. Sometimes you can get away with that, depending on the colors that you're using. And once I get these edges done, you shouldn't have to do much more to them. That raw wood sometimes drinks it up. I used to cut all of my wood myself. I've cut hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces. With bandsaw and with the jigsaw. In fact, when I was expecting my daughter, I was about 8 months along. Our garage faced, we lived in town, and our garage faced the front of the street. And I had big old bandsaw and jigsaw out there, and I was just cutting away, and this car went by, and I mean, I was very much expecting her. And this car went by, and they stopped, and they just kind of went, wow, I don't know if they were thinking, what a woman or what an idiot. I don't know which, but I've cut just like, when I would get tired of painting, I would cut and just cut and cut and cut and just go between the both things, and I just enjoyed it so much. Don't do it so much now. Work's kept me so busy and involved in a lot of other things. I've got somebody else that does cutting, so I've just been getting it from them. But I do enjoy it. I don't do well if it's cold. It has to be warm for me to get out and paint. I couldn't live up north. I would never make it. I wouldn't mind visiting, but I could never live up north. I don't think I would survive. I'm very cold-natured. All right, we're almost through with the edges, and this is the most time-consuming part on this one. Okay, I'm back to the front of it. Where I started. So we're good on that. All right, I'm going to wash my brush out. I'll look back over and see if there's any place I missed on it. I don't think it's going to need a second coat. It's looking pretty good. So you want it to be really dry for this next part. And this next part is going to take a little bit of practice. And there's several different ways you can do it. A lot of people do it very differently than what I do. I learned to shade, and I still have to practice with it, but I used to watch Donna Dewberry videos, and I love to watch her. She does beautiful flowers and things, but that's how I learned to shade and highlight. Shading is, if the color is darker than your base coat, then that's called shading. If it's lighter than your base coat, then that's called highlighting. So shading is always darker than the color you're putting it on. Highlighting is always lighter than the color you're putting it on. Hi, Becca Boo. Rebecca is what I consider one of my other daughters. Hi, Jamie and Robin. Well, we got a lot on here jumping on. Good. All right, so we've, so far, girls, I just hopped on. We base coated the piece white. If you don't have a wooden flower right now, if you've got a piece of sack or canvas or poster board, anything like that, you can just draw you a little flower and paint along with us. So we base coated white, just did all the edges yellow, and of course I've got it all over me. And we put a base coat just around on the outside of our circle for the petals. So let me get this paint off of me. I don't always paint in my nice clothes, but I thought since y'all are going to be watching me, next time I'll show you what I typically paint in. I'll hold it up. It doesn't look anything like this. It's been very well painted when I paint. I'm very messy. Okay, so I'm going to turn the dryer on for just a minute. Let's get it going here. Now, and before you do it on your piece that you're working on, you might want to practice on a piece of cardboard or something. A piece of poster board or your plate. But what we're going to do this time is we are going to, it's called floating. Let's try it with this one. This one may not be quite big enough. I may have to change. So my bottom my bottom color is yellow, and I want a dark brown, like this one that we have finished. See the brown around that makes the petals stand out so that you can tell where the petals are. So we're going to pick our first petal, and it's going to be the above petal. There's petals behind the two big petals, so we're going to pick one to start with to make our first big petal, and then we'll go around and do those, and then we'll come back and do the little ones. So this is Deco Art Americana, and it's dark chocolate. So any dark brown that you have, you don't have to use the same kind of paints that I have, but just any dark brown. I always shake my paints if I haven't used them, already, because they kind of separate and settle in the bottom. So we're going to use dark brown, and it's not going to take a lot for this. You just need just a little squirt there. And I've still got enough yellow for when I put it on in the beginning. So let's try, I'm going to try this brush. This is a new one. I haven't really used it yet. I'm going to get it wet, but I'm also going to use a little bit of the floating medium. The medium is, it's the paint without the color, pretty much is the best way to describe it. It's the paint without the color, but it helps your brush kind of push that paint where it needs to go if you're doing something like this. So just kind of keeps it moist and keeps the paint from drying out, especially when you're doing it on wood. So I'm going to put just a little bit of that on my plate. Doesn't take much. And I'm going to get just a little bit on my brush. both sides and just kind of work it in just a little bit. And then I'm going to dab it on my wet rag just a little because I don't want it really, really wet. Now, when I'm floating, whether it's shading or whether it's highlighting, doesn't matter either way. I always get the base color that I'm going to be painting on goes on the bottom of the brush. And again, this one's a flat number 10. We'll see how it works. I may have to go a little bit bigger, but so the base coat that we're going to be painting on is yellow. So I'm going to get just a little triangle there on the bottom. See if you can see that. And then on the top of it, I'm going to get a little bit of that brown. And then we're going to blend it together. So you're going to go back and forth about 4 or 5 times. And this is where you'll be able to tell, is it too dark? Is it dark enough? So I'm going to get it back and forth, and I'm just blending it across there. So you've got the yellow on the bottom. I'm going to put a little bit more. Back and forth. And then you're going to start at your circle where your center is. And let's do that first petal. You ready? Here it goes. If it doesn't work out, we'll wipe it off. Okay, so I'm starting, and I've got my brush down. We're going to go right here, and I'm trying to see where that petal starts. And we're going to go all the way to the end. Just going to blend it in a little bit. There you go. So that's the first half of the petal. So we're going to turn it around, and I'm going to reload my brush. Whatever color you're painting on goes on the bottom. And put a little bit more of that medium. Whatever color you're highlighting or shading with on the top. Blend it about 4 or 5 times. Just really mash down and blend it there. So we're going to come back. We're going to start down at the bottom of the base again. Kind of line up where that petal's going to stop. All the way around. There you go. Now I got a little bit of a ridge of paint there. All the way back down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to make them stand out. When you get all the details and everything on it, it's going to work out just fine. Okay, so we're going to reload again, blend it, and we're going to do the next one. So I'm going to turn it around, and you'll find that I turn my pieces to fit what I'm doing. A lot of people use a Lazy Susan, and that's a good idea. So we're going to start back at the base again. Hi, Kim. Glad you're watching. Kim is my niece. She lives down in the Austin Round Rock area. Okay, so again, we're going to do the outer petal. These little petals, the shorter ones, are the ones behind, and we'll come back and do those in just a minute. Start at your circle, kind of line up where that's going to meet, press down all the way around, and then just kind of smooth it out as you go. There we go. Okay, now we're going to load again. I'm going to kind of smooth that out with my finger a little bit because that one was a little bit wide. Get a little bit more of that medium in there because I don't want it dragging. When it starts breaking up, the paint's breaking up, that means it's too dry and you just need a little more paint in it. Okay, so we're putting the yellow on the bottom of the brush, the shading color that we're using, the brown, on the top. We're going to blend it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just blend it in really good. And then we're going to start right here down at the bottom. Or you could even start up here at the top. Let's do that way this time. So we're going to go at the top, all the way down to the bottom. Okay, and I use my finger to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start going all the way around. Going to speed it up just a little bit. Okay, if you just caught on with us, or just came on with me, we are shading right now our petals to make our petals stand out on the little flower. And we're doing all the big petals right now. I'm going to turn it around and go around. Start at my base of the circle, all the way out to the petal. Okay, now I don't know if you can see there. See that little ridge right there of yellow? That's what I'm talking about when a ridge, when the paint gets kind of built up. You don't want that to dry like that. So you can take your brush and another brush and kind of smooth it out. I just use my finger and then wipe my finger off. Okay, so we're going to use a little bit more of that medium. Now this one's got a lot of repetition in it, but that's good. Once you do something 5 or 6 or 7 times, it's going to be a lot easier for you, you know, to get the hang of it. Or I like repetition. That's the way I learn. So I'm going to start at the base of the circle again. And I'm kind of turning my brush up as I do it. Okay, I'm going to smooth that ridge out just a little bit. Now if your color starts mixing in or you get a brown line down at the bottom really bad, you may need to wash your brush out and start over. So we're going to go around this way. Sorry, I get to paint and forget somebody's watching me. Okay, so on that one, and they don't all have to be the same shade. I mean, like this one's darker than this one, but that's the way real flowers are. I mean, they're all different shades. Okay, so I'm blend it again. And when I'm blending it, I'm not going in a different spot all over the plate each time. I'm blending it in the same spot. That kind of helps. That helps get that paint in there. Okay, so this time we're going to go from the bottom up the opposite direction, right around there. Okay. And y'all, I am typically a very slow painter. I tend to be a perfectionist. I'm trying to get away from that so that it doesn't take me so long on these, but I'm one that will come back and fix this, fix that. I'm trying to get out of that mode, but it's hard when you've been doing it so long. Okay, so we're going to start at the base. Now you should be kind of getting the hang of it by now. You see how that paint kind of split right there? I didn't have quite enough moisture in it, but I'm just going to smooth it out and it's going to look just fine. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more of that medium in it this time. More yellow, more brown. Blend, blend, blend. Okay, gonna come down to the base, all the way around, done. Okay. All right, I'm gonna wash my brush out because it's getting a little bit of the brown where I just want the yellow. So I'm gonna wash that out just a little bit. Now, I thought I was going to be so fancy. I've got my iPad up here, so I thought I might could see the comments on it and what's going on with it, but it's just sitting there. The screen's just frozen. I don't know what it's doing. But it looks good. I mean, it looks like I know what I'm doing, so that's all right. All right, so a little bit of moisture in it. If you get too much moisture in it, it's just going to be a mess, so you don't want too much in it. Okay, so we're going to kind of start over with the yellow on the bottom. Brown on the top. Going to blend, same spot. We're going to blend, blend, blend. And let's go to the next petal. Kind of line up where that's going to be. Yellow is going to touch the yellow. Brown all the way around. And that still needed maybe just a little bit more moisture in it. There we go. But we've almost got another petal. So yellow, brown, blend, blend, blend 2 or 3 times. And when I do my paint parties, the class, I guess you would say, the students, whatever, they're painting, and while they're painting, I'm not painting while they're painting. I have a sample that I take with me so that they can see what the finished product looks like. And like I said, I will give them a sample board of all the different kinds of ways that they can paint their centers and paint their petals. There's just endless ways that they can do that. And so I let them choose the color they want to do and the pattern they want to do. And we had a lot of different ones that turned up, but the the steps are pretty much just the same. Okay, now I just got a little bit of brown on that yellow, so I'm going to take my baby wipe, and that baby wipe just takes it right off of there, as long as it's not too dry. But I walk around and show them. I'll hold their hand and show you how to do it step by step. And we've had so much fun. And then I had another party that we were supposed to have done. I'm going to wash my brush out because that's getting a little bit too much in it. But we're just getting going good. I think I had 6, 7 parties. And then the coronavirus, you know, caused us to have to kind of shut everything down for a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit more of that medium because it's getting too much paint in it. It's giving me the color I don't want. Okay, so I dried my brush a little bit, but I put a little bit of that medium floating gel in there. Okay, yellow on the bottom, brown on the top. Blend, blend, blend. Let's get our next big petal. All right, we're about halfway through with the big petal, so we're almost there. So we're going to go round. All the way to the end. And for me, this is really fast, so I'm having to really get used to doing it fast because like I said, I'm not a fast painter. Start at the base. Up we go. There we go. All right, a little bit more medium yellow. I thought this would be a good flower for summer. Looking like a sunflower with these colors. But something that you could, this would be good to put on like a welcome sign. You could use it as the O. You could, it's okay for a door hanger too. It's not a huge one, but it would work as a door hanger on a classroom or just about anywhere with this size. You could do it. Now this one definitely is a great door hanger size. That's one we did in the class. And that would look really pretty. And don't fret over your little mistakes like I do sometimes, but you're looking close up to it and you look at it and you go, no, no, no. But when you step away from it and you hold it back, you know, you don't see all those little imperfections, and that just makes it look homemade. You know, that just tells you it wasn't made in a factory. Somebody put a lot of time and effort and love into it. Hi, Robin. Robin, I haven't seen you in so long. It's so good to see you on here and hear from you. We're painting a little sunflower. This is what it will be like when we get finished. And this is what we're doing now. So we're doing the petals now just to define those. We're using cadmium yellow, Deco Art Americana. And we're blending our brush back and forth. And we're going to start at the base again. We're almost finished with the big petals. Almost there. Line it up where that petal should be. And just press down. Got a little bit of a ridge there. It's got a little bit of brown in it, so I'm going to use my wet wipe. Remember I said wet wipes are your best friend. Look, you can't even tell it. Gone. I've even spilt it in the carpet before. When I was trying to open one and the lid popped off. And I immediately got the wet wipes out. You couldn't even tell it by the time I got done. So, always have some wet wipes handy. I always take them to the paint parties when I go. I always have those available. Well, I don't care how good you are or how long you've been painting. Accidents happen. All right, let's get a little more brown and a little more yellow on there. And remember, I am mixing, when I'm mixing the brush for this shading, floating, I'm doing it in the same spot every time. All right, so always have your base color that you're painting on at the bottom of the brush. Yeah, we're going to start there and meet it right up at the top. There we go. Had a little bit too much water in that one, or floating medium. There we go. All good. I always have a paper towel out here too to kind of blot it if it does get too wet. Okay, so let's get some yellow, brown. There we go. All right, it's really starting to look like a flower now. Anybody else painting along, or are you watching and going to paint later? Hi, Crystal. And Lena. Hi, Lena. Oh, or Lana. I'm sorry. Our boss is Lena. Sorry, my little Lana. No, I'm not selling these right now, but they will be at the craft show in November, assuming all of this is over with by then with the coronavirus. But our Howe High School has a craft show that we do every second Saturday in November, and I will be selling a lot of things there, and that most of the things that you'll see me painting will be available there. I just don't have shipping and everything set up yet. I hope to get to that point, but I just don't have it yet. Oh yay, Carla's painting, good. I think Crystal and Lana are painting, or they were going to. Good, I'm so glad somebody's painting along, great. Okay, so we're almost finished with these big ones. Let's get them done here. I'm just gonna keep going. You've watched me blend. Yeah, I think you've kind of got the hang of it by now. So let me add a little more paint on here. Blend it, blend it, blend it. All right, that one turned out really good. Good. I wish they would all turn out just exactly like that. I used to, in my younger years, not too, I guess just about 5 years ago or so, I would, oh yay, Reagan and Ashley are painting. Good. Hi Reagan, Miss Pam misses you. I want to see this when you get done with it, okay? But I would start painting. I'd get supper done, get the dishes done, get a little bit of laundry done, and then, usually about 8 o'clock or so, I would start painting, or maybe 9 o'clock. I'd start painting. I thought, okay, I'm going to just paint for a couple of hours. So many times before I knew it, my alarm clock was going off to get ready for work. I had painted all night long. But I just loved it. It's therapy. It just makes me feel so good when I do it. And I would just turn my music on, and I just would, I'd tell him he'd come get ready kind of for bed, maybe 10 o'clock or so. Oh, I'm almost done, almost done. And it'd be time to get ready for work. So some of my friends told me, you can't keep doing that. You're going to kill yourself, because they loved me. That's why they told me, you got to slow down. You can't do that. So I did. I've gotten much better. I try to paint more during the day than I do at night now. Okay. Ooh, this is the last big one. Okay, so we're going to start at our circle. Press it down. And just kind of fade it out. There we go. A little bit more of that medium, because that one kind of was breaking up a little bit, which means I didn't have quite enough paint on there. Okay, I'm blending it and blending it. Now we're going to go back and do, well, I've got this one right here, and then we'll do the small ones. Yellow down to the yellow. There we go. Now I'm getting a little bit of brown on the edges, just because I'm trying to do this so fast with y'all so that you're not here for 2 hours. So, but I'll go back and touch them up a little bit on that. We'll touch it up. Okay, so that's all of the large ones. So now you know where your little ones are going to be. We're going to do the same thing, only we're just going to do the tips this time. So it'll be much faster this time. And when you do this a lot, you'll get the hang of it, and it won't take you near as long as what it may be taking you right now. So we're just going to go around and do the tips. Yellow to yellow. Always on the bottom, whatever your base coat is. And I'm just going to go up. And then I'm going to start right here where this petal meets. And we're going to go up. Just to get it just a little bit in there. And I'm going to use my finger on that one just a little bit, because it was kind of overlapping there. Okay, and just kind of bring them in. I'm going to use my wet wipe just a little bit. It's got just a little bit too much in it. There we go. Dry it off just a tad. Okay. All right, so let's get the rest of the tips done. And if you're painting with me, I'm just going to kind of move on with this one, because since we did all that, I think you pretty much know what you're doing now with it. If you have any questions, just holler at me. Thanks, Mom. You know your mom's going to say it's looking great no matter what it looks like. Thank you, Mom. All right. Let's see here. And next week we're going to paint something so much fun. And it's so easy. Even the kiddos can do it. So bring a little bit of Easter maybe into it. So, all right, let's do this one. We're going to go up and back to where it starts. Press down. My brush is getting a little dirty. You see that? Right there. I don't want that there. That doesn't go there. So I'm just going to wipe it off a little bit. And if it's something that you can't really fix with this, if it's with a baby wipe, if you got it down in there too much, you can always just let it dry a little bit and then paint it over with your yellow. But that took it off. That got it. I was supposed to be going to a painting seminar here in Sherman at the end of this month. I was so excited. It's a painter that I've been following for a long time, but they had to cancel it due to the virus. The whole place is shut down, so we had to cancel it, but they're going to do it again, I believe in August. They're going to try it, and so that's good. I have a new business coach that when I went to Tamara Bennett's Southern Adornments Decor live event in Nashville, there was a lady there that she does business coaching, she helps you grow your business, kind of gives you a lot of good pointers on how you should do it, what you should do, how you can do better Facebook lives, how to handle the money part of it, and just a lot of good information. And I met her at the live, and I went ahead and joined one of her courses, and I'm behind because of everything that's been happening. We've just been so busy, and but I started watching her videos, and y'all, she's probably maybe 2 inches shorter than me. But she is a little spitfire, and I'm telling you, she doesn't take any excuses. You can do this. You know, here's what you need to do. Get started. And just always excited when she's on, on live, and whenever she's talking to you. And it's called Creative Strategies, and then she's got a creative code book. It just closed, I think this week. You can't join that, but you can go to Ashley's Creative Strategies. It's Ashley Rants, I believe, or Rates is how you say it. But I'm really learning a lot from her. She's just been really, really helpful and very encouraging. So I will have more information on her website for you next time. But she's just really fun to watch, and just, I don't know where on earth she gets all of her energy, because she's got like 3 businesses going at one time. I wish I had some of that energy. I guess I did when I was her age, but, well, I guess I did, because I used to paint all night long and had kiddos, and so I guess I did. I guess it's okay if I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm 62. I'll be 63 in November, so I guess it's okay if I can slow down a little bit here and there. All right, so we're just the tips of these little ones. Almost through. And I didn't even reload on that one because I could tell I still had enough paint in it. So we're going to go down there. I'm going to go down on this one. Kind of cheating a little bit because I don't want to run out of time. Just enough to kind of separate them, just so you can see it in the back. There we go. All right, I got a little bit of paint on that one. Good old baby wipes. It's gone. I think I had it on my finger. I'm going to wash my brush out just a little bit. And put a little more of that medium in it. About out. Let's get this a little bit more. And I am just putting a drop of this floating medium. It does not take much at all. Just dry that off just a little bit. Okay, I think I'm going to have just a tad bit more yellow. This yellow with this Americana, Deco Art Americana, it really is, it's cadmium, K-A-D-M-I-U-M, cadmium yellow. And it's really covering good. Okay, here we go, blend it good. We're going to get to the fun part here in just a minute, when it really starts bringing it to life and it just looks so colorful like spring should. And I'm going to come back over this one just a little bit, this big one, to kind of fill in that gap there, because you want it to kind of meet where the curve comes in. You want it to kind of meet there. All right, so we're on the last, or I missed one here, so let me go back over here. Y'all, do I sound Texan when I talk? When I go back and listen to myself talk at work, when I have to go back and listen to a recording of it, when I'm talking to a customer, I'm like, wow, I sound like a Texan. Southerner. Got that draw. Okay, so you want to go back around and make sure you've got them all. I've got one more here. Okay, I think that will do it there. I'll get just a little more brown on that one. There we go. If your paint's still wet and you go back over it like this, it's just going to pull it off what you just did. So it'll pull it off and you'll just have to paint it again. Okay, so now we're going to take the same brown that we're using, that we're going to use our liner brush. Now remember, we've been using a flat brush. This is a number 10 flat brush. That's what we were using to float with. You can use a larger one if you're doing a larger area. There's much smaller ones if you're doing a smaller area to get into. So now we're going to use our liner brush. This is a number 2 liner brush. See how long those bristles are? Very long, and it's called a script liner. But I'm going to get it wet, and when I'm getting it wet on my cloth, like the flat one, I was pulling it out flat. This is the round one, so anything I'm putting it on, whether I'm using paper towel or anything, I don't just wipe it back and forth. You don't want your brushes to lose their shape, so I just roll it out to keep that point, because when you're going to be doing lining work, you want that point. Okay. So I've still got a little bit of brown here, so I'll start out with it. Get my brush a little wet and just kind of dab it on that rag. Because I do want this, I'm going to add a little bit of water. My paint had gotten a little bit dry, so I'm going to add just a tad of water in there. I'm rolling it out. I'm going to roll it out as I bring it out. And now we're going to do our little, I don't know what you call them, the folds maybe? But we're going to put one in the middle of each large flower. You can see that. And I'm just going to start at the base of the circle and just out we go. Get a little bit more paint. And then we'll start right there at that center. I mean, where I started with the first one. And we're just going to kind of flick it out and curve it out to the outside of the petal. Let's do it this way. Okay, can you see that? That just kind of made the folds in the flower. And hi, Debbie. We're going to get through this flower before tomorrow, but we're doing good. We're about halfway there. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way around. If anybody knows what these are called, the little lines in the petal, I really don't know. So you can see it. I'm going to start kind of upside down. So you get one in the middle. Just straight out and come back down where you started, curve it out, Now my liner brush has gotten a little separated there, but it's all right. So I'm gonna get a little more brown on that. Remember, I'm rolling it out to a point, straight out to the outside of the petal. Debbie Secking, that's on, she is an incredible, I would say she's not just a painter, she's an artist. I don't consider myself an artist at all. I am not one of these that can just sit down and something out of the top of my head paint a whole mountain scenery or lake scenery or anything. I usually use patterns. Some things I can freehand, but because I've been doing them so long. But Debbie's one of these that she can just paint almost anything. She uses a lot of patterns and tracing things too, but she's just got an eye for color. And she's got some of the prettiest shading I think I've ever seen when she does that. She and I have painted so many things together. We've painted a lot of murals together. We painted our little cradle row. We painted that whole room with beautiful animals. Big old tree with snakes and monkeys in it. And then we had a giraffe, a big old tall giraffe that she did. And I painted a lion. And we always have fun when we paint together. So much fun. Okay, so just going around and doing all the little, just reload your brush, each petal, so you got plenty of paint on there. And just flick it out, and they're not going to all be the same size. They're not all the same size on a regular flower. And now I'm going a little fast, so, but you'll be able to replay this and watch it again if you need some help, or, you know, don't be shy. Ask questions if you've got questions. Okay, so we're going on here. Debbie's also been missing our 2-year-old. She's teaching the 2-year-old class this quarter at church. She's been missing them, so she went up there night before last and recorded a Bible class lesson for them, so that they could watch it on Facebook and or not, yeah, on Facebook, I guess. But anyway, it was such a good little lesson for them, and I know that they're missing their class and teachers, and so it was just adorable and very informative, you know, for the kiddos. And so I know that they're going to be watching that and appreciate it, you know, because their little routines have all been turned upside down too, not just us adults. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit here in the center of these, the ones that are in the middle. I'm just putting one. All the way around. Just one line of that dark brown. Okay, now see what a difference just making those little marks did? That's one of the most exciting things when I paint, is just how each little layer of what you do, every little step, just makes such a difference on it. It just really brings it to life, especially when you're painting faces and you put those eyes on them. It just changes it so much. So it's starting really to look like a flower now. Right? Okay, so you're doing good. All right, I'm going to clean that brush out. And now we're going to take that dark chocolate, same dark chocolate that we're using, that Deco Art Americana. I'm going to put a little bit more on the plate because it's going to take a little bit more. So I'll be painting a lot. I've got a whole room and garage full of stuff to get painted for the craft show in November. So I've really got to get busy and do that. But when you're painting something like this, or you're wanting to learn to paint and you're scared to start on the original piece, again, get a poster board out or something and practice on it so that you're comfortable when you actually do start on the regular piece. And remember, you can always, my very first wood piece that I painted, the first side of it was horrible. The bow didn't look like a bow. It looked like something that had been put through a blender on the back of it. So, but I just turned it over. I practiced in between that and got better with it. And then I use it every year now. I just love it. But, you know, it just takes practice. Okay, so this one I'm going to use what's called, just to get around the edges, and then I'll fill it in with something else. We'll try it with this one. This is called an angle brush. So we've used a flat brush that's flat across, 2 different sizes, both flat, but they're straight across. We've used the liner brush really long, and this is great for making lines and squigglies, and we'll use it again here in just a minute. This is an angle brush. See how it goes down? It goes down at an angle, and that's good for getting in, doing circles, doing round things, just lots of different tight spots. So I'm getting my brush wet, and I'm dabbing it off on that wet rag. So you're going to load it both sides. You don't want to get paint in the what's called the ferrule. That's the metal part here that holds the bristles in. Try not to get paint in that. If you do, wash it out quickly so that it doesn't make your bristles separate. But I just get both sides here, and then we're going to start right at the inside edge of the circle now, of the center of the flower. It starts off dark brown. So that's where we're going to put the dark brown base. Remember, the first color that you use, you're building up. The solid color is always your base color. So we've got a base of white. Then our next layer base was yellow. Now we're going to base coat the center brown. All right, all the way. And we're just going to hold it. Put the long side along that line that you drew with the cup a minute ago. It's going to go right in the middle of that. I mean, right underneath that. And that's going to just cover up your pencil mark. And it's going to take a couple of coats. Okay, and just kind of smooth it out. It'll look yucky at first, but when we go back in and put a second coat on it, it'll really change it. So you're just going to hold it down all the way around until your paint starts running out. Now on this, I've got a little bit of that ridge, that paint ridge on there, but I don't care on this, on the outside of the flower, right there on the center. I think that actually looks good. So I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to smooth that out, but I am going to smooth it out here in the center. Okay, load again. Now be careful when you're laying your hand down to paint around this. You're going to get brown paint all over the bottom of your hand if you're not careful. So that's why I'm painting the outside of it first. The outside of the very center, we're going to go the outside. We're still inside the circle, but we're going to just doing the outside of it. So all the way around, just where your pencil mark is, smooth it out. Turn it around to fit you. How are my painters doing? Hi, Laura. Glad you're on here. All right, girls, so how are you doing that's painting with me? Am I going too fast? And my mom just said I am a Texan. I sound like a Texan. Born and raised. All right, so now I'm coming back the other direction to me, which is fine. It's whatever is most comfortable for you. Whatever works for you. Okay, so got that one. Almost got the circle, our pencil line covered. Okay, so it's circled, so I'm just going to fill in here. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, now I'm going to dry this with the hairdryer. I'm just kind of smoothing it out, but I'm going to dry it with the hairdryer really good. And I'm going to clean that brush out real good because we're not going to use it to fill in the rest of it. We'll go back with a different flat brush. Okay, so I'm really hitting the bottom of that cup with my brush and twisting it around on the bottom of the cup to get all that paint out of it because I don't want paint left in the bristles. All right, I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer real quick. Do any of y'all have huge plans for when all of this is over to get to meet and just maybe have a cookout or something so everybody can be together? I am looking so forward to it. I just cannot wait to get back with our church group. Okay, so we're switching to another flat. This is a 3/4 inch flat, and this is a plaid brush. I really like them. It's the one stroke, the Donna Dewberry one strokes brushes, and they're really, really good. Joanne sells those. Okay, so I'm going to load both sides. Now that that's dry, I can just start really filling it in. And I'm just kind of going in circular motion. And when I get to the edge of that circle, I'm going to hold it straight up. You see that? Okay, I'm going to hold it straight up all the way around until my paint starts kind of fading out there. Smooth that out. I'm going to come back the other way. All the way around. Twist it around. Be sure and don't get, I've got some paint on me, but not enough to matter. But I have ruined a piece that, you know, before and had to start this process all over by getting paint all over it where it shouldn't have been. And it was the type of painting I was doing. I couldn't just wipe it off. So I had to kind of sand and start over. Okay, now see how I'm holding that, the end of the brush, the edge of the brush here, right up against that circle, right up against that line. Hold it down and all the way around, and then smooth it out. Okay, let's turn it around a little bit. Oh, girls, it's starting to really look like a flower now. Logan will be arguing with us. He would be saying, no, it's not. It's a sunshine. All right, smooth it out. Get the edge right there. And if you're having a little bit of problem with your edge being really a circle around there, don't worry, because we're going to put, by the time we put all of these little dots that are around there, see the dots around there? That's going to kind of cover everything up, so we'll be good with that. Okay, so got that on there. I'm gonna clean my brush out real good. I'm gonna hit it with a hair dryer. Let's see who's on. Here we go. Okay, thanks, Debbie. Hi, Nikita. Well, I don't sell things yet as far as selling pieces for you to paint. This is just one that I had, but you can take a, if you're wanting to practice this, what I suggest is just draw a flower on poster board just to kind of practice these techniques. You could do it on paper board, a poster, I can't talk, poster board, paper sack, anything like that, just to kind of practice. Any kind of flower. It doesn't matter if the petals are like this sharp. It could be rounded. You just hopped on. I'll show you some of the, here's some samples. When I go to a paint party, I always give them samples of what they, different ways that they can do it. So you can do it different shapes, different sizes, different colors. I am just getting started, Nikita, with this online stuff, so I'm really not there yet as far as selling. I will be selling a lot of my finished products at a craft show in November here locally. But let me hit it with a hairdryer right quick. Okay, so for this next step, we're going to kind of pounce a little bit in the center, just to kind of give it some dimension, some color. And for this, I'm just going to choose an old brush, something that I really don't treasure a lot. Let's see what we've got. I've got so many brushes. Okay, I think this one will work really good. It's a number, I believe it's a number 4 flat. But see how the bristles have kind of separated in there? So it's a real good one to pounce, or what we call scumble with. Oh, Reagan, I'm so glad you're having a great time. I knew if anybody would, you would. So I'm so glad. All right, so I'm going to get it a little bit wet, but I'm going to really dry it off. You don't want a lot of water in it. I just want it wet so the paint doesn't get dry in it. So I've got it dampened, but then I really wiped it off. So we're going to take some black, just any kind of black that you have. This is Deco Art, but just a little bit, probably about the size of a dime. That's all you're going to need. And you're just going to get it on your brush here. Just pounce it up and down, but then pounce it over here to get some of it off. You don't want it just dripping on it. So I'm just kind of pouncing around a little bit, and then we're going to do that on our flower. You're just going to pounce, and this is just going to give it some depth. And you're just going to pounce it around. Now each brush will have a different effect on it. Like this one is kind of making straight lines. I can press down a little harder and they'll be a little fatter. Just kind of there in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with, this is Americana Deco Sable Brown. Got to shake it up good. And it's a lighter brown. It's almost a caramel brown. So just to give it a little dimension, we're going to do the same thing. Okay. Now that black is kind of hard to get out of your brush, so you want to really wash it good. All right, I got that out. Now let's just pounce, pounce, pounce. We're going to do the same thing, only with the brown. So you're just going to, in random order, you're just going to anywhere you want to. No really rhyme or reason on this, just all different directions. Okay, now let's do just a little bit, not much, but let's do just a little bit of orange. This one is coral, but you can use any orange. It doesn't really matter what color. All right, let's clean that brush out. Whoops, a little bit too much water. I don't want it wet at all for this. So we're going to pounce it up and down, get it in those bristles. We're going to do the same thing, but not as much. We don't want as many of the orange, so we're just going to a little bit here and there. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with the orange. And then one more. I'm going to do the light yellow. This one is Delta Ceram Coat. I use all different brands. My favorite is the Deco Americana. I just love the way it covers. But I've had some of these paints for a long time, and I'm not just going to throw them away. I want to use them up. Hobby Lobby usually runs their paints 30% off about every 2 to 3 weeks, and so I always wait until they run them on sale they'll run them 30% off. And that helps when you're buying a bunch. Okay, Reagan, let's put some yellow in it. Just a little bit. Here and there. Okay. Now, I'm doing this one just a little bit different than we did the other one. Okay, this one's got a lot of black and brown. This one we're putting a little more color in. I just thought we needed some more color today. Okay, so I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer real quick. so the next part, I love it. It's fun. It's the fun part. For this, I use a stylus. I guess that's what you would call it. They come in a package of 3 at Hobby Lobby, and if you look on the tips, they're each a different size. Like this one has a smaller size than the top part has. So they've got all different sizes on them. And for making the dots, you see all the little dots around that flower? That's how I make those. That's what I use. But if you don't have that, you can use the tip of your paintbrush. You can use this. You can even use the tip of a pencil. You just dip it in your paint and dip it on here. The secret is to get it in a puddle enough. See, I've kind of got it in a puddle there. You don't want to just touch the plate on the bottom when you dip it in it. You just want to kind of dip it up, and you'll have to dip it in there a few times. So I've got it kind of drippy on there. See how it's kind of dripping off the end? And we're just going to go all the way around. See how this is done on the inside here? I mean on the little dots all around? We're just going to go random all the way around. So let's see if you can see this. Now, these dots, until we dry it with the dryer, they're going to stay really wet. So if you get your hand in them, it's going to go everywhere. And believe me, I've done it so many times. I'll forget that those dots are still drying because they do take a little longer to dry because they're deep. And I'll smear it everywhere. Okay, so let's start with our black. And we're just going to, y'all tell me if you can't see me. Hi, Chris. Hi, Robbie. Glad to see you on here. Great. Carla says, this is so much fun, but I've got to get ready for live streaming our 6 p.m. worship. Okay, I understand. I'm so glad you got to come on. Thank you. All right, so we're just going to dot around here, outside, inside. You're going to have to reload about every 3 to 4 dots. We're going to go outside, inside, outside. And this is pretty fast, so you're just going to all the way around. In and out. We had our church service this morning. Our elders are meeting right now. We didn't have service tonight, but we did have live streaming service earlier. So I'm just turning so that I'm not putting my hand down in those dots. I'm turning the flower to the direction that I need to be painting in so that I'm not putting my hand down here. Now, there'll be times when you'll use the bottom of your hand to guide yourself, especially when you're using the liner brush. I use my hand a lot to kind of guide me when I'm going along those lines. And remember, if you do get it on something that you don't want it on, just use that baby wipe real quick and it'll typically come right off. And we're going to do this with each color that we used inside. Just to give it some depth and dimension and some color, just some interest. Okay. And there's just no really order to this. Now, next week when we paint, got something that we're going to do some different dots. I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'll show you that at the end of this, what we're going to do next week. But I'll show you a different way to make some dots. And it does matter how you load them. Okay, so we're finished with the black. Let's do the light yellow that we just did. And we're going to do the same thing, just all the way around. Oh, look at that's brightening it up. All the way around. And I'm going to go a little fast here. You don't have to try to keep up with me. You can do it at your pace. We went to my son's house, Chris, yesterday. We had to go pick up a trailer, so we took advantage of it to go see them. And his daughters and son, all 3 sing. One of them plays the piano, and the other one plays the ukulele beautifully. And they write songs, beautiful songs. Anyway, so they sang us some of their new songs, and every time they sing a new song they've written, I always cry. Grammy always cries. But they just have beautiful voices and just love hearing them. And then my granddaughter that lives right down the street from me, She also plays the ukulele and sings so pretty. They're just very talented. They did not get their musical talent from me, but just love hearing them. Okay, so I'm just putting a few more here and there of the yellow. And now let's do the orange. Reagan, I thought this might be your favorite part. It's Miss Pam's favorite part. I love doing the dots. Okay, so let's do the orange. And I'm going to have to get a little bit more because you do want a little bit of a puddle to be able to get it on the tip of your, if you're using a brush or whatever you're using. Probably could have used a brighter orange, but this will work okay. All right. Just all the way around. Now we're not going to do the brown dots because they really wouldn't show up in that brown center. Just here and there. Some of them are bigger than others. Some of them are touching each other a little bit, and that's just fine. All right, we're getting close to finishing up the petals on the end. Now this one has some little lines across it in the center. I'll show you how to do that if you want to do that. We may or may not do it on this one, depending on the time. But it's very easy. Just using that liner brush, just like we did when we were lining the lines in the flower petals. Okay, did I go all the way around with that? I want to make sure I've got some on the yellow too. There's so many techniques that I want to show you guys that they're not all in one piece. You just can't show them all in one piece. So several different pieces that we'll do. Okay, we need a little bit of white. I've still got some white in here, but it's gotten a little bit too dry. So let me pour out just a little bit more. I know Michael sells Craft Smart paint, I think is what it's called, and it's like 50 or 70 cents a bottle. Walmart's been almost sold out of paint the last 2 times I went. Of course, they've been sold out of everything. Okay, so I made me a little puddle. Let's do some white. White always brightens it up. Just going to dip it until it's just kind of dipping off of there. Oh, look how that white just brings those colors out, doesn't it? This is regular white. They've even got a white that's called Snow White. That's even brighter white than this. All right, mine's getting a little bit of a clump on it, so let me wipe it off and kind of re-dip it in there. There we go. The sun has popped out a little while, but it's kind of gloomy again. But we're going to cook some steaks out on the grill as soon as my husband gets out of his meeting. And we're going to put some baked potatoes in and watch a good movie or something tonight and prepare for the week ahead. I work for a bank locally, and with all of this, all the businesses having to close and everything, we've just been incredibly busy trying to help our customers and do everything we can to stay available for them. All of our lobbies are closed, but we're doing everything we can through the drive-through. I actually work in the customer care center, so I answer phones and help on the phones with everything. And we have just been incredibly busy. I'm just so glad that we can be there and that I work for a bank that really cares. So I've been really impressed with them as an employee and as a customer. How they've done their customers and just bent over backwards to try to make everything right for them. Okay, so what do you think? Should we put some, hi Kelly Tomberlin, she's kind of my daughter-in-law. She's not married to my son, but it's my daughter-in-law's sister, so she's one of mine. Okay, so my Chris Savage and Ashley. Okay, those of you that are painting, we're doing both here. We've done them just a little different than the first one, but here's the first one. See if I can get it right side up for you. Okay, that's the first one. A little bit different color in the center. Here's the one we're working on right now. It's got a little more colors. Do you think we should put the lines in there like that one, the cross lines, or just leave it like this and then finish the petals up top? All right, so let me know. Let me know what you think. I'm going to put one more thing while you're deciding on that. I'm going to take a little bit of this light yellow, and I'm going to use this number 10 brush. Actually, let's use the number 12 flat brush. I'm going to get it just a little bit wet, wipe it off, and I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow and just really work it into the brush. And I'm just going to put a little bit in the petals just to kind of give it a little bit of highlight. So I'm just going to wipe it in there. It's got a hair on it or something. Need a little bit more water on it because I do want it a little bit wet to do this. Get the hair out of that one. Okay, a little more there. Just around the edges a little bit. Just to give it a little bit of dimension. And I'm just really loosely wiping it in there. Got the brush pretty wet and I'm wiping the most of it off. Your fingers and kind of wipe it in there. And then we're going to take a little bit of orange and do the same thing. And see how fast I'm doing that? I'm just really not even careful how I'm doing it. I'm just wiping it in there really easy. I mean, really quickly. Just enough to give it some light. Whoops. Okay, look what I did. I was wiping that one. Look at that dot. That dot was not dry. And I just smeared that dot everywhere. I didn't dry it with the hairdryer. So let me get my baby wipe, see if I can rescue it. Okay. So let me go ahead and dry those dots right quick, and then we'll finish. Now the dots take a little longer to dry than what your base coating does, because remember they're deep. I mean there are puddles, so it takes just a little bit longer to dry those. Okay, so we'll fix that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and put some more, finish these out with some of that yellow. And I'm just kind of dry brushing that yellow in there. Okay, so that gave it just a little more depth there. Now let's do the same thing with this orange. And I'm not going to put much on it at all because the orange is going to show up a lot more than what that light yellow did. So I'm going to go down here at the base of the little lines, and I'm just going to put just kind of dry brush. It's not really wet at all, and I'm just going to pull out, put a little bit of that orange on there, get a little bit more on there, and I'm just really rubbing it in. And I'm just barely pressing down, just enough to give it some color. Down in towards the circle. Okay, so Reagan's going to leave hers with outlines. I think I am on this one too, just the way it did, the brush that I ended up using. And Reagan, you could even put, back here behind this Pam, you could put some circles on yours if you wanted to. All right, let's go a little bit off. This is more of a coral orange. I think if I did it again, I would probably use like a pumpkin orange, a brighter orange on it. Okay, and I know it's probably hard for you to see on the camera, but it's given it so much more depth and just a little more interest on there. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to go back to our liner brush, and we are almost done. To our liner brush here, and I was going to try to be done, let's see, 4:30, 5:30. I was going to try to have it done in about an hour and a half, but running a little bit over. Let's see, 4:30, 5:30, 6. Okay, so we're about an hour and a half, so I'll get it down to where we can be faster. But anyway, we're getting there. Okay, so take your liner brush that we used, get a little bit of water on it, and we're going to use the black. We're going to use the white. I'm sorry. We're going to load it with the white. And Robin, since you're local, I could meet you with or mail you one of the flowers. I have a few extras, not many. But since you're local, I'm not into shipping really yet. I've had some others ask, but I bought this from somebody in Alabama. I will be having a local woodcutter, I think, pretty soon. I used to cut all of my items out, but with the working like I do, I just don't have the time to cut them all out anymore with doing everything else. So I'm going to get somebody to hopefully cut them soon. But you can even, if you cut your own wood, you could even, find a pattern online and cut one out. Okay, so we're going to take our liner brush and we're going to go just on the edges. And I'm also going to use my stylus, or you can use the end of your brush, the wood part. I'm going to get a little more black out here. I love that sound. Listen. Best sound in the world. It means paint's opening. Something's about to start being made. I just love that sound. Y'all, I know I'm crazy when I start painting. I used to make little deer families and for Christmas, and I would have sometimes 50 deer sitting in the floor, and I would be painting late, and David would hear me talking, and he'd go, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "Oh, the little deer." So I just put eyes on them. They all came alive. And he's going, "You've been doing this way too long." Okay, so I'm sorry, before we use the liner brush, I'm going to do some dots again. So you can use the end of your brush, or you can use the, if you have one of these, you can use these. But look on the very tip. Where did we go? Oh, there we are. Okay, I couldn't see. On the very tip of the flower, you see the little dots? We're going to do one at the very top and one at the very end on every petal, even the little ones. So we're going to put the dot, 3 dots. So let's go around it real quickly and put a dot. So you're going to go dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. And you want them kind of close together. Dot, 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 all the way around. Now be careful, don't get your fingers or your arm in those dots. Almost done here. And I think I'm going to do the dots here, and I'm going to show you what to do to finish up, because I want to show you what we're going to do next week. Next week's will probably be a little faster. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Now when I got these at Walmart, these styluses, daughters, I don't know what you call them, but they weren't over in where the paint is. They were over in the artist section. But you could ask somebody where they are. Okay, so I got all the dots around there. I'm going to wipe that off because I don't want paint caked up on it. So we're going to go back to that liner brush. Roll it out so you got your edge. Go into your black, load your brush up good. But before we do that, I'm going to draw these dots right quick because I know I'll make a mess with them. Okay, so liner brush, get it loaded. And we're going to just start about where each of the little curves is, where the flowers are, the petals meet, right here in the curves. And we're going to start, and we're just going to squiggly. We're not going to make a straight line. We're going to do a squiggly. Squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. Squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. And they're not all going to be the same size. Close to it. But squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. All the way around. Okay, Reagan, so I'm going to start. And let's see who gets all the way around first. Okay, Carla had to go. I know they were having church tonight. She was painting. Crystal, are you still there painting? I know, I've gone a little long. Everybody's having to start supper. Okay, Robin, you've got my number, so we'll get together afterwards. Okay, so all the way around. I know the things I paint are a little more detailed than some, so it does take a little longer. But they're so much fun when you're done. And you can look at it and you'd say, I did that. I mean, look, we're taking just a plain old piece of wood that's cut out, and look what it's turning into. Just so much fun. Almost done with the squigglies. And then we're going to do the same thing, only this time, no dots, but we're going to do white in between those. My liner brush is getting a little, finally just about had it. Okay, there, squiggly. I was telling most of them when they first got on, some have had to leave, but a lot of the things that I'll be painting over the next few months, I don't ship things out really yet, but we will be having a craft show in November, and I will have most of my stuff for sale there. I'm about to work on a little girl's ironing board, and I just can't wait to do that. There's just so many techniques I can't wait to show you all that I've learned over the years. Different things, different ways to paint different things, and everybody has their own little style and preference, and so you can take what you can learn from me, but then add your own spin to it. And as soon as all this coronavirus stuff's over, we'll start having our paint parties again. So if you're interested, if you're local and interested in a paint party at your house, in your school, your workplace, I will come just about anywhere, and we'll set up and do a paint party. It's $35 per person. I supply everything and show you step by step, kind of like what I'm doing here, only I'll come around. I'm not actually painting. I just come around and help you and show you what to do. And we just have door prizes, and we just have so much fun. Okay, so let's get some white. Just like we did with those black squiggly lines, and I'm kind of rushing a little bit here because I know we've gone long. So get some white on it, and just inside where we've done the black, this time we're going to do straight lines. You can do squiggly if you want to, but I'm going to do straight ones because it's just different. Okay, so white there, and I'm going to kind of go up to that middle dot inside there. And that's just going to add some highlight to it. Everything you do just adds a little bit of dimension. Not dementia, dimension. Okay, we're just going to go all the way around. Oh, got a little bit of black on that. Let me get that walked out. There we go. Now, how much easier could that be? We're just making lines, straight lines. A lot of people are very afraid of the liner brush. It's one of my favorite brushes. You can just do so many different details with it. And this is a number 2. There's a number 1, and there's also a 0 liner brush for doing like little eyelashes and different things of that nature. Reagan, you need to try to talk Alicia at church into painting sometime too. She painted at one of Angela's birthday parties. We did a paint party, and she's really good. Like you, and I think she would really do well at one of the paint parties. That's when she was very young then. Haven't painted with her since, but I bet she would really do well with something like this. Okay, so I'm not really even taking much time. I'm just doing those little strips there, and you can see how quickly I'm doing them, but it does add some highlights to it. I got a little bit of black on that one, so I'm going to go back over it just a little bit. Okay, and that's it as far as the flower. Now you could go back and put some, white dots if you wanted to, where the black ones are. Let's do one, just to see the difference in it. Got to get a puddle here. You could put a white one just somewhere on it if there's room. Now see, that's my problem. That's my biggest problem when I'm painting is I don't know when to stop. But each little step just adds so much to it. Okay, there. A little more paint. My co-workers have had several parties at different spots and places, and we've just had the best time. I've gotten to know each other. I've had one of my parties, had an 8-year-old and also 80-something-year-olds, and so it doesn't matter what age, there's always something to do. Okay, we're not going to do it today, but you could also paint a really cute little ladybug on it. But you want this to dry really, really well. And there's different ways that we could do the end. Look at the difference in the centers. Look at that one. And then look at this one. There's just so many different ways you can do it. But you let it dry really, really well. And then the sealer that I use, used to get it at Walmart. I don't know if they still sell it at Walmart or not, but you can get it at Lowe's and Home Depot, I think. But it's Minwax polyacrylic. It's water-based, so it does not yellow. It's the only one I've ever been able to find that didn't yellow. You can get it in satin. I actually ordered these off of Amazon. They used to be $7. They're like $11 a can now. But I've used it on white, and it does not yellow because I do a lot of little girl furniture and things like that, so I really like it. So that's something really, really necessity, that if you're going to spend this much time painting something and working on it, you want to seal it real good. And so I spray outside. I spray a light coat on it, let that dry about 10 minutes, another light coat, and then I also spray the back if I'm going to be hanging it outside. Now, this will also need a hanger on the back, but I'm going to show you how to do that next week because this isn't dry enough to do that. Because I wanted to go ahead and show you what we're going to do next week. But thank you. I hope yours turned out fun and that you enjoyed that. And I'll get it down maybe a little shorter next time, and we'll do a little bit different timetable, I'm sure, because typically I would be getting ready for church or in church. But next week, we did this at the Southern Adornments Live event, and I thought it'd be something fun. I know a lot of Easter things have been canceled, the egg hunts and things of that nature, but I got these. Now, I don't have the exact cutout that's already painted, but I got this at Dollar General. They had several of them. Now, I got all of them that they had at the Howland, where we live, but if you're out and about, I'm not suggesting that you get out. I know with everything going on right now, it's kind of hard. But again, you could find a pattern and print out offline and trace one on poster board or something. Or maybe cut one out. And this one's a little bit different shape, but it's still the same thing. So, here's what it looks like before. Are you looking, Reagan? Here's what it looks like afterwards. So we're going to use a lot of color, and I'm going to show you how to do these dots so that you can learn how to use a different method than what we used today. Who is that? Grayson. Grayson's one of my grandsons. Grayson painted with me last time he was here. We painted a snowman, a camouflage snowman. Of course, he's a boy. He didn't want any flowers or anything on it, so we figured out how to paint camouflage, and he did a great job on it. So, hi, Grayson. I enjoyed being with you yesterday. Okay, so we're going to have to get off of here. It ran a little bit long, but this is what we'll be doing next week. So I'm not sure what time yet, but hopefully everybody's clicked on to get notifications so that you will be notified. So we'll do this little bunny next week. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. And bear with me as I get this method down and get a little bit shorter, hopefully. But don't want to rush it if, if it's really important to the piece. We want to do what we got to do on it. So, okay, so thanks so much. I'm glad you enjoyed watching, and we'll talk. I'll probably get on here before we paint again to let you know what day we'll be doing it. But thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.